Welcome to Bet on NFL Week 14. I am Kelly in Vegas, a.k.a. Kelly Stewart. I don't know which one of those names is more popular. I was joking with someone earlier about moving, and they said, how are you going to be Kelly in Vegas if you move? Guess what? I'm always going to be Kelly in Vegas. That's just the rules. I make them. Let's bring in Marco in Vegas, Marco D'Angelo. Gianni in Vegas, at Greek_Gambler. You guys are never leaving Vegas. I don't blame you. All right, let's get right into that Thursday night game. As you guys know, we're going to break down these primetime games starting off. Then we're going to run through the entire NFL card. So here we go. 6.5 was the opener. The LA Rams getting a little bit of love at home. New England getting way too much love after that absolute and utter shutout of the Los Angeles Chargers. Line is now down to 5 here in some spots. Looks like 44.5, some 45s across the board here in Vegas. Marco, I'm going to go to you first. I put the Rams in a teaser when they were -6. Now I'm going, eek. Looks like maybe some sharp money, some big-time money came in on New England. Look, I was high on New England to start the year. They showed some promising moments, particularly one on Sunday, but I feel like this might be just a little bit of overreaction.
Yeah, Kelly, and if you've been following the line movements for the last several weeks, every week New England's getting love. I mean, they're the sharp guys play. We see the line moves. If you follow any of the contest here in town, I know you might, Kelly, putting all those plays in with the proxy service. New England's been a popular pick with a lot of guys that have been doing well in the contest. But Kelly, who have they beaten? Let's be realistic about it. I know later in the show people are going to talk about the Steelers' schedule, but let's look at the Pats. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. They beat the Jets, Baltimore, Arizona, and the Chargers. The only good team on the list at the time was Baltimore. And remember, that game was in that driving rainstorm. They were a home underdog on Sunday night. That's a whole different animal, those primetime home dogs, as you know, Kelly. And then Arizona, if you've watched them the last several weeks, this team keeps shooting themselves in the foot week in and week out. So coming off the 45-0 win, this is too much of an overreaction. The Chargers played as bad as you could play. Anthony Lynn, he's a dead man walking. Come on. They got to pull the plug on him at some point. I know Kelly's ready to pull the plug on him about a month ago, maybe last year, actually. But this one, I just think the line is too much of an adjustment. You're going to get the Patriots. They're going to only go as far as Cam Newton can take them. And they're going to be facing the best defense in the league. The Rams, just 4.9 yards per play they're giving up. But more importantly, they bring pressure to the quarterback. And Cam Newton, he's not the same Cam Newton that he was in the past, but he's what makes that offense go. I don't see him having a good game. I think it's going to be troublesome for him. The Rams have played good in these primetime games. I'll go ahead and take the Rams here. Now, I'll be honest, they didn't get to the window with the Rams yet, but, when it was 6, if I do anything with this game, now it is down to 5. I think it goes back up closer to game time. If I do anything, it's probably going to be a teaser with the Rams.
VR, have you seen anything in your accounts regarding this being sharp money? Do you think that this is maybe just a little overreaction? What are your thoughts on this Thursday night game?
Yeah, I'm seeing a ton of action already, surprisingly. Over the last couple weeks especially, most of the NFL action from the biggest groups has come late, and I've been saying it on the show. It's still the case with the primetime games, but we've seen them get out ahead of a couple this week. In fact, I've already placed a handful of bets in NFL for this weekend. And this early on, it's a little bit rare. And this is one of the games I did bet. Here's what I'm on. First off, I can tell you with certainty, group that I work with did bet the New England side. They took New England at +6.5. Another group I respect that I share information with, they took New England +6. So that line move is short money related. Now, is it going to win? That I have no idea, but I can tell you the reason it moved is because these guys did get respect on the New England side. I didn't bet it. I didn't release it. I say it all the time. I take percentage of the accounts. I have different deals. Some I keep a half of it. Some I get work off, whatever it is. So I want them to win, obviously. But I only piggyback and use for subscribers those that I confirm and feel strongest about. But if I do end up betting the side, obviously I'll find myself on that sharp side or nothing at all. But not now at 5. Obviously, these guys got 6, 6.5. And I can't say it enough. The goal is to place good bets, positive EV bets. And if you could get 6.5 and you miss it, and it's now 5, 4.5, you no longer have value. Even if you cash that bet, you are simply hoping to be the product of good luck. Any edge is gone. I will keep repeating that like a broken record because that's the key that has to sink in. Premium play, I'm on the under. Went under 45.5. Actually released that this morning to subscribers. I lean that way. A group came in on it. Again, like I say, I don't originate my own NFL stuff. I only originate my own MMA. But with the NFL, I have my own feelings. And when they get confirmed, I feel more confident. This under got confirmed. And I agree with it. I mean, bottom line, New England may have the perception, at least historically, as an offensive juggernaut, high-scoring team, but nothing could be further from the truth, at least this season. This team's just not putting up a lot of points at all, 22 points per game. And the same thing with the Rams. You know, they're around 25 points a game. And in today's NFL, that is not all that much. And more importantly, you're looking at pretty good defenses, coupled with a little recency bias from last week. We have two teams that scored a lot of points last week. You know, New England put up 45 against the Chargers. The Rams put up 38 against Arizona. This don't look like that high of a number, but it is. Total should be closer to 43, 43.5. I went under 45.5 as a premium move. That's what I'm on Thursday night.
All right, VR, I'm going to stick with you. We're going to head over to Sunday night. The Pittsburgh Steelers off that Monday afternoon loss to the Washington football team. They play Buffalo, who is off a nice win on that Monday night game. 2.5 was this line if you were looking ahead in favor of the Steelers. Now it's flipped. Buffalo is now a 2.5-point favorite. Looks like 46.5 pretty much across the board. With the exception of the two offshores, they are sitting at 46. Have you seen anything in your accounts? I know it's early on, but in regards to Sunday Night Football.
I did. And actually, I can't play this game. I even sent in pass for it because I think it serves up the perfect example for the bettors that are watching. Again, I want to give you picks that win for you this week, but more importantly, I'm hoping to maybe share some experiences and knowledge of a lot of mistakes I made over my career trying to be a winning sports bettor. And hopefully you cannot make those same mistakes. Bottom line is this: sharp money's on the Buffalo side. That much I can promise you. And that's why this line's where it is. But they got down a lot better number than where it sits. Guys I work with actually took Buffalo at a pick'em. And when it moved to like 1, they came in on the money line. Now, again, it's up to 2.5, 2.5 minus 15, minus 20. Next stop is 3. I can't give out Buffalo minus 3 when the value was at a pick'em. And you know why? Here's why. I love Decembers, because December is when you got to put all your cards on the table. All the nonsense ends in December. We're now the 9th of December. We've had 11 full months and 8 days to bet sports in 2020. And throughout the year, we've been tweeting our hot streaks and saying I'm this and that on sides, and I'm this on totals, and I'm this on this, and I'm this on that. Well, it's December, baby. Let's see what you are. How'd you do in 2020? Put it out there. Let's find out. Did you have a winning year or not? Because that's what matters. And the only way that's going to happen is if you place good bets. Remember this? October 7th, I wrote this down. I was plus 113 for the year, 113%. And I made myself minus 160 that on December 31st, I will be up more than that. I wasn't sure. I'm not a psychic, but I know I'm going to place good bets over that time and enough good bets that I'm going to be up. So going into today, I'm at plus 245, more than double what I was in October. And that's because when a game like Pittsburgh and Buffalo popped up on my screen, and I missed pick 'em, and it's now 2.5 or 3, I sat back and passed. I'm not going to lay 11 to win 10 on a bad number. Stop doing that. There's always going to be a better spot for you to get your money in. For me, this game's a pass, unless, again, I get such strong information to force me on a different side, because I think the Buffalo value has left the station. That was there when they were an underdog or pick 'em. I don't think it's there anymore.
All right, VR, bringing the heat, as always, teaching you guys how to be better bettors. Marco, our resident Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm sorry about your loss on Monday night. I'm not actually that sorry because I had a Washington football team ticket, as did you. Does Pittsburgh bounce back in this situation? Marco, I texted you this morning and said, let's talk about Mike Tomlin as an underdog. There's so many things to consider here. And I really think that all of a sudden, Monday afternoon happens, Pittsburgh's up 14 points. They lose that game, and everybody bails on this team. I mean, I cannot tell you how many memes and tweets I've seen that said this team is super fraudulent. They're the most fraudulent 11-0 team I've ever seen.
Kelly, they're not fraudulent. What they are is a banged-up football team that's playing 3 games in 12 days. Okay, that's the situation. And what VR was talking about with the numbers and everything, that's 100% true. And a perfect example, as he said, is this Buffalo game. But a better example, and this is something that I'm going to tell people for whatever capper it is that you like at Wagertalk, whether it's me, it's Gianni, anybody, I highly recommend buying a subscription, whether it's a 3-day, 7-day, 30-day. And here's the reason. At Wagertalk, when you're on a subscription with clients, the minute we put something into the system, you get an email telling you to make the wager. That precise moment. I am sitting in my pocket with Buffalo plus 8.5 on a teaser because I knew the minute the line came out that Buffalo was not going to be an underdog in this game, that the Steelers, the line would be adjusted after the Monday night game. I sent it out to my clients on Sunday night with it. So now that gives me a lot of other options come Sunday because the line is totally flipped. If I want to end up doing something the other way or even teasing the other way, I could end up with plus 8.5 on both sides in this game. So yes, you do want to bet good numbers and you want to get in front of it. And, that's a situation where I did benefit this week with it. And let's talk about the game. As I said to you when I texted you this morning, Pittsburgh is a good underdog under Mike Tomlin. But this is a different situation. The scheduling that the Steelers have had because of all of the movements, because of COVID issues, none of them which were self-inflicted. It was always the other team that had the problems. And the Steelers, they got the short end of the stick. There's no way, to do that. They pushed their times around. And remember, Washington not only, was playing Pittsburgh, with Pittsburgh coming back on short rest, Washington had the longest, almost like a second bye week because they went from Thanksgiving to, a Monday night game this week. Still have Pouncey out. You saw with Pouncey out and James Conner out on the Monday night game, the Steelers couldn't run the football at all. 21 rushing yards. I don't care how good that passing attack is of the Steelers. If you have to pass on every down, you're going to be in trouble, especially with your center out, and you're going to have blocking schemes missed and pressure on the quarterback. Now they go and play a Buffalo team that's a very good offensive team. I don't know that Pittsburgh's going to be able to trade points with them. I know Pittsburgh has a good defense, but don't look at the season records for the Steelers. They've lost 2 key pieces during the season to this defense. It's going to decline. Bud Dupree, I told you guys about that last week. You saw the Steelers. Alex Smith threw for almost 400 yards. I like Buffalo in this game. Like I said, I do have a teaser in my pocket with it. Do I do any more come Sunday? We'll see how it works out. But Pittsburgh is also still without their kicker, Chris Boswell. And if you saw Mike Tomlin make a couple decisions on that Monday night game, Kelly, where he bypassed a field goal to go for it on 4th down, that's because he just didn't have the confidence in those kind of things.
He didn't think kicking is for losers?
No.
I feel like that's what it was. I feel like Tomlin was like, I don't want to disappoint this woman.
No, Kelly, if you've ever been to Heinz Field and tried to kick into the one end of the stadium, there have been very few 50-yard field goals from the one end. You know, when that wind swirls from the Three Rivers there, it's bad. And you just don't do it. And it was a situation where he didn't want to give up field position because if you miss a long field goal, the other team's only a couple first downs away from the game-winning field goal the other direction. So that's something to be concerned about with the Steelers in this game because that Buffalo offense has clicked all year. Nobody has put them in check. So this is a situation I'll update on Sunday if I do anything else with it. But right now, I do believe the right side is the Buffalo Bills.
Marco, I will get into this game a little bit later. You mentioned a teaser spot. When we come back, that's right. It's the inside, the look-ahead Westgate lines, and, of course, one of our most profitable segments, the teasers.
Every Monday at Wagertalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at Wagertalk.com and our sister site, SportsMemo.com.
This weekend, Gianni the Greek went 11-1 in the NFL, topped by his 5% big move on the Denver Broncos. On the season, Gianni is ranked number 1 in the NFL and up 125 in profit behind a 59% winning percentage over 299 releases. Right now, you can lock in all of his NFL selections through the regular season for $199. As an added bonus, we will include the playoffs and Super Bowl for free. To take advantage of this offer, just go to Gianni's expert page and purchase his NFL special for $199, locking him in all the way through the Super Bowl. No coupon is needed for this special, but this is a limited time offer, so act fast.
Welcome back to Bet On It. This segment isn't sponsored by, but I'd like to give a little shout out to our friends over at the Westgate for putting out those 12-day numbers so we can kind of use it as a handicapping tool of sorts, see where these lines were and where they've moved to. We already touched on the Thursday night game. VR said that was, without certainty, sharp money on the Pats, but we're going to start off with him. New York Jets at Seattle. Seattle opened minus 15. They subsequently lost to the New York Giants at home as a double-digit favorite. Now we saw this one settle around 13.5. VR, do you think that this line move is warranted?
Now, I'm a little surprised, but not. Here's what I mean. Most expect Seattle to bounce back after that loss, obviously. And double-digit favorites, we know the trend, how they do when they lose one week and they're double digits the next. They tend to cover that spread. That trend's out there. We've been hearing about it. So I expect to see some Seattle money, but I'm not surprised to see the early Jet money. Here's why. Because if you look at the Jets, not only have they covered 3 of their last 4, and I think 4 of their last 6, it's when they're covering. Meaning this is a winless team that's also 4-8 against the spread, meaning they've underperformed against the betting market, but that was early on. As of late, they've actually outperformed pretty much the betting market and are covering these games. And I think the reasoning is the season's almost over. You don't want to be 0-16. You want to get that win. Until that's off your back, you're probably going to bring effort. And at least that's what we've seen. We saw it against the Raiders. We saw it against the Chargers. We saw it against the Patriots, where they're very close to a win, so they don't give up. But when they're not close to a win, what happens? What happens is what happened to them against Miami, where they quit pretty much and end up getting blown out. And I'm afraid that's what may happen here. But with that said, that's why I can see the money coming in on the Jets, and why it's coming in, I'm not too sure it's that smart, though.
All right, Marco, we're looking at the Atlanta Falcons headed to the LA Chargers. Atlanta opened a pick 'em now. Atlanta minus 2.5. You already said your piece about Anthony Lynn earlier. What are your thoughts on this line move?
Kelly, this is absolutely a total overreaction to one game. We talk about it over and over again. Don't overreact to what you see one week. No team is ever as bad as their worst game. And my God, the Chargers couldn't have looked any worse than they did last week, or is a team as good as their best game. The Atlanta Falcons, this is all I'm going to say. They have the worst defense in the NFL, okay? The worst yards per play allowed. Are you going to lay points on the road with them? No, I'm not. I'm sorry. This is just not justified overreaction. I'll be looking at the Chargers for plays.
Yeah, and we're going to head over to our teaser segment here in a minute. I think the Chargers might be primed for a nice little teaser spot. All right, VR, the last one, the Washington football team at San Francisco. Washington, 3 straight road games. They did get the win over Pittsburgh on Monday. San Fran opened at -4.5. Now they're down to 3.
I understand it, and it makes sense. I mean, look at the San Francisco 49ers. What have they done of late? Not only have they not covered 4 of the last 5, they've lost 4 of their last 5 straight up. Granted, they were underdogs in most of those, but now they're in the favorite situation. So, I mean, if you're losing games and not covering as an underdog, I don't know if I want to be laying points with you, especially against a team that's now won 3 in a row, as you touched on. More importantly, they're straight up, not just against the spread. In back-to-back weeks, and they made a step at Dallas and at Pittsburgh on prime time. So I understand why. I didn't piggyback it. I'm not on Washington, but I understand the love for them.
All right, makes sense to me as well. The 49ers just looked very lackluster in not their stadium. They were playing in Arizona, so really interesting there. All right, guys, one of our more popular / profitable segments, that is the teasers. There is an abundance of teasers this week. I tweeted it out earlier. I am absolutely floored how many teams, some interesting road favorites that haven't moved above that 7.5, 8. Some really nice home dogs from the 1.5 to 2.5 point range. Marco, I'm going to go with you first. Who is your teaser for this week in the NFL?
All right, Kelly, we've got a teaser. We're going to go the more traditional route this week. And, we got there with half of our teaser last week, the untraditional way with the Cleveland Browns. But this week, and by the way, those teasers for me, 10-3 this week or this season. So this has been a profitable segment. And I'm going to go start with the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee was in a horrible scheduling spot last week. You heard me go ad nauseum at why I was on the Cleveland Browns. Now, for all of those reasons that were bad last week, now they're good for them. This is going to be a focused football team this week after, I know the final score looks like it got close. They were getting pounded in that game. They scored a lot of garbage time points to make it look much closer than the game really was. And I think it's huge. The key part, they're going to be focused because I think Jacksonville the last 2 weeks have snuck up on teams that just basically look past them. This is a team that's got 1 win. How do you get excited for playing a team like that? And teams that were laying big numbers had scares. Well, Tennessee's in a dogfight to win the division with the Colts. They're not going to come up flat in this game. They're going to be focused and ready. And throw in a second part of this. If you remember, several times this year, I've given you an angle in division games that when a team is on the road and they're a road favorite in the rematch, and they won and didn't cover the first one at home, they had the scare, they're going to be an even better play in the second one because they are focused. So for the first half, this is simple for me of my teaser. I take the Titans down to -1.5 and ask them just to win, beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. And for those conspiracy people out there, I'm saying just have to win the game. Jacksonville, do you really want to win a game? If you want to try to get that shot at Trevor Lawrence, you don't want to win and hope the Jets somehow find a way to win a game. The second half of this one's probably not going to be as popular, but it is the right way to do it, and that is the Chicago Bears. You hear me talk about teams, give me the better defense getting points. Well, that's the Bears, and this line's an overreaction to what happened last week with the Bears' collapse against the Lions. I can't do that. This is a Houston defense that they got to be sick at the way they lost the game last week. They battled back against Indianapolis, had the ball 1st and goal at the end of the game inside the 5, and they're in shotgun and bad snap, lose the ball, lose the game in the final seconds. I don't want any part of the Texans on the road this week, especially a team that's got a poor defense laying points on the road, and I can take the Bears up over the touchdown. That's where I'm at. I'll take the Bears, add the 6 points. This line's coming down. I'm seeing 1.5s and 2s. So, but you're still over the touchdown. So do it now while you get that 7.5 or 8 out there. And that's my teaser.
Great, very great point there, Marco. It looks like it's headed to Pick'em offshore. So make sure you guys get in those teasers with the Bears sooner than later. As Marco mentioned, it is very important to get up over that 7. So you at least want the Bears plus 7.5. VR, I feel like you and I are seeing eye to eye this week in the teaser segment. I hope you actually got to the window with it because I am almost positive I will.
I did, Kelly. This is the week. If you're going to tease, this is the week you want to start throwing teasers in. There are 10 teams that are just sitting there waiting for plus EV teaser opportunities. If you're a subscriber, you already got one premium teaser of 4% that I'm going to share right now. And don't be surprised if you get 4 or 5 more of them. Listen, if you're new, I apologize. If you see 10, 15, 20 plays, you don't have to bet them all. I got 3 weeks to go, and I'm trying to set some records. The guys that have been with me for 11 plus months, they got their bankroll, and they could handle these, putting that much action in. If you just started a week or two ago, listen, I got to look for the year. So pick your spots. Don't tell me which ones do I choose, because, again, we're trying to break records with 3 weeks left. And here you go, Chicago Bears. Why not? I get it. They lost all those games in a row. But the Houston Texans, as Marco touched on, just coming off a huge loss against a rival in a game that mattered so much. Now you got to travel on the road. And let's not forget, Chicago, in their losses, I think they've only lost by double digits twice this year. It's not like they're getting blown out when they do lose. And then, even easier, the Chargers. Let's tie up those Chargers. That's what I gave out. I gave Chicago plus 7.5, Chargers plus 8.5. 4% teaser, and why not? Chargers just got blown out. We all know they got shut out, obviously. But more importantly, they're playing a Falcons team, which also had their rival playing New Orleans. And what did New Orleans do? Smack them around again like I told you they would do. They beat them. Now you got to go on the road. Chargers cover this one. Chicago, Chargers, that's my teaser.
VR, so I just touched on this with Marco. I do want to let everybody know, I think this one is headed to a pick'em. So if this is out after time, I just looked, one of my guys has one. He's charging me $130 for a 2-team 6.5 point teaser. That is too much juice, right?
Too much. Don't do it, Kel. Yeah. Pass. It's not a bet worth making. It really isn't. Good move.
I just wanted to clarify that for our listeners. I pretty much knew that, but right there, I think you got to get to the window quick on this one. We are going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, that's right, we got the Steam game. Is the deli back open? I guess we have to wait to find out. And of course, some TNA with Ralph Michaels.
Get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at Wagertalk.com and SportsMemo.com. This is just our way of saying thank you for joining the Wagertalk and Sports Memo family.
Did you know every Tuesday is $2 Tuesday at Wagertalk.com? We pick the hottest handicapper and offer his best bet for just $2. This is a great way to introduce yourself to the winning handicappers at Wagertalk and SportsMemo.com. All right, welcome back to Bet On It. I hear that freight train rolling. That means VR's Steam game of the week is coming down the tracks. This has been an awesome segment for VR. I wish I had the numbers in front of me. That is my fault. VR, tell us what your Steam game of the week is for NFL Week 14.
I'm shocked, honestly, and this isn't even from any of the groups I work with. I'll tell you straight out. I bet this and released it, and I just don't get how this line's so high. Maybe I'm square, but give me the Minnesota Vikings over Tampa Bay. What am I missing here? You have a Tampa Bay team that over the last month, every time they stepped up, they got beaten. They got beat by KC. They got beat by the Rams. They got demolished by New Orleans. The only win in there was against Carolina in a game they were touchdown favorites against. On Minnesota, on the flip side, what have they done wrong? They've only won, 5 of their last 6 games straight up? I get it. They haven't outperformed the betting market. In fact, they're 0-3 ATS their last 3 games. But they were favorites. In fact, over their last 6 games, they won 5 of them. They were favored in 5 of them. They didn't cover. They still won. Now they're the underdog. Flip side of that script. Give me the points with Minnesota. I get it. We're all expecting Tampa and Brady to bounce back and get it done. But nothing tells me, nothing justifies laying this many points with Tampa Bay, not over what I've seen the last month from this team.
Yeah, just looking at it, 6.5 yard looks so easy to tease Tampa Bay down to -0.5. It looks almost downright trappy. So I'm with you on the Minnesota Vikings. Let's just hope Kirk Cousins plays an awesome game because that's what we need. And no fumbles from Dalvin Cook on the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Marco, it is your time to shine. Is the deli open? Do we have a trap game? I'm just so confused.
Kelly, this one could have been a sandwich or a trap. Maybe I should have a trap sandwich, okay? Because both things apply here. And we're going to go to a game that we touched upon a little bit earlier, and that's the Atlanta Falcons at the Chargers. You want to talk about an overreaction? Everybody is, stick a fork in them. The Chargers are done. They quit on Anthony Lynn. They may have quit on Anthony Lynn. He is a dead man walking, but you know what? These are professional athletes. Nobody, I don't care who you are, nobody likes getting your ass kicked. And they did. And they got embarrassed. 45-0. The only good thing is, there's no fans, so they didn't have to hear boos in their own stadium with it. But they bounced back this week. And the reason I say this is a sandwich or it's a trap is think about it. The trap part of it is you just had a team that lost 45-0, and the line is basically pick the winner. Okay? That's the trappy part in itself. Yeah, give me the Falcons. Yeah, they've won a couple games. They've played a little bit better since they fired Coach Quinn. But let's go to the sandwich part. And the sandwich part is let's look at those Atlanta Falcons. Where are they going? Nowhere. Who'd they play last week? Oh, they played the first place Saints. They wanted to play spoiler at home. Well, that didn't work out. So now they go cross country to play a non-conference game. We talk about those. Those are the least important on a schedule, playing the Chargers, who just got beat 45-0. What do we care about that? But who do they play next? Tampa Bay and Tom Brady at home. Another chance to play spoiler and ruin somebody else's season, just like theirs is ruined. That's where this team will come to play. Not this week. This is a bad spot for them. It's a trap. It's a sandwich. Put all the meat on that sandwich you want. Deli's back open. Take the LA Superchargers. And I went through an entire show without calling them the San Diego Chargers. Do I get a gold star or something, Kelly?
Great success. I'm so proud of you. They're always going to be the San Diego Superchargers. To me, you're hilarious. Marco, I'm already locked and loaded on the Chargers. I can't wait to text you on Sunday afternoon how much I hate you for getting me into this mess. All right. It is now time for the man of the hour, the Ralph Michaels Show, TNA, coming right up. Ralph Michaels, we're through the home stretch of the NFL season. I know that you've got some good stuff stocked up for us this week. 14 weeks we've made it, Ralph. I'm so proud of us.
Well, let's start with Marco Steelers. There's a couple things to mention with them. Obviously, they now lost the game, but teams with 9-game win streaks, like the Steelers were on, like the Saints are on, 35.8% going all the way back to 1989. And that's something, you're going to pay a premium when the teams continue to win. The public starts jumping on them. So just keep that in mind. 35.8% for teams that have at least a 9-game win streak. Staying with Marco's Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously Steelers and Bills Mafia this week. So when both teams have a win percentage of 65% or higher, and we're at least 6 weeks into the season, so it's a legitimate win percentage, home favorite has covered 67% of the time. Now, check this number out, Kel. I don't often talk about teasers here, but this one popped out. So when I run my database, it gives me the ATS number and then the teaser record as well, without looking at what the number was. Obviously, so there were numbers that obviously were bad teaser numbers. But since 2013, the angle is 67%. If you tease The home favorite, when both teams have a win percentage of 65 or higher, you are 37-4, 90.2% in a teaser. So anytime you're talking about a 90% record, even in the teaser, that's something to pay attention to. New England Chargers, probably one of the most misleading 45-0 scores if you look at the box score and you look at the Patriots at what they put up. But how do teams handle being shut out? And how do teams react after a shutout loss? It's embarrassing. Everybody watched them. Since 1991, just running that, teams that were shut out, like the Chargers, 108-79, 58% against the spread. So we see an overreaction. What was there already? A 4-point reaction from the line from what the Chargers were till after that game? Those are the exact type of line value that you can find. Now, the Chargers are not an away dog, but I do want to mention this so you guys can mark this down. If you are off a shutout loss and you're an away dog this week, you have actually covered 67.2%, going 41-20. The other big news for those Survivor Contest people, the Giants knocking off Seattle. Kelly, what do NFL teams do off a double-digit loss as a favorite?
They bounce back in a really prolific way.
Yeah, since 1989. Again, 32 years, the entire database. If an NFL team loses straight up as a double-digit favorite, they have covered 57%. That's not quite prolific, but since 2011, in the more modern era, teams off a loss as a double-digit favorite, 71.4% going 20-8.
Ralph,
and anytime I run one side.
Sorry, I was going to say, you mentioned Survivor. So Survivor is only to win. Did you happen to pull their straight up record?
You know, I did not. Sorry, but I just was talking about how.
I expect you to tweet it. I'm going to get a tweet from you later regarding that. I have two teams that I was looking at playing this week in Survivor. I have Seattle available in one of my two teams, so I already knew I was going to put that in. But it still does make me nervous. Seattle's really faltered the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they have. And it's funny, people say, oh, look, their defense is playing better and their offense is playing poor. But I think that's sort of just a combination that when Russell Wilson was scoring so fast, their defense was on the field for so many minutes, they had no options but to get tired. Now they're driving down. They're not getting these quick scores. He's not passing 50 yards and getting one-play touchdown drives. So the defense is on the field less, even though they're underperforming. Okay, so the opposite side. When a team loses as a double-digit favorite, we know what happens. Does the opposite hold true when a team wins as a double-digit dog? Give me a guess, Kel. 40%, 50%, or 60% against the spread?
40%.
You're right, 40% since 1989. So that's the type of system that works great. Double-digit favorites that lost, a very positive. Double-digit favorite dogs that won, a negative. And one more subset to that. When the team pulled an upset like the Giants do and they're a home dog this week, they've only gone 7-21, 25% against the spread. So two more real quick. Third straight road game, and you're off an upset. So we have the Washington Redskins on the road.
Football team,
on the
Ralph.
road, they pulled the
the football team.
The old Washington Redskins, the Washington football team. That's like Marco's saying the San Diego Chargers once a week.
I love it. Listen, it's just so funny to say football team. So you just have to go with it.
You know what? I'm old school. I write down Washington. I say what I see. All right. So this one makes great sense to me. Third straight road game, and you won as a dog your last game. So the Washington football team is on the road for a third straight week. They pulled the upset against Pittsburgh. Teams in those roles, again, all the way back to 1989, only 15-36, 29.4%. And lastly, one of my favorites, I probably mention this every other week. It just continues to win week in and week out. road teams that are off a home game and their opponent allowed over 400 yards the next week. It applies to Denver, it applies to Minnesota, and it has covered 67.5%, going 83-40. So you're on the road this week, you were at home last week, and the team you're playing this week allowed over 400 yards, so their defense was very generous. 83-40, 67.5% against the spread.
I hope you guys were taking notes. My sheet is full of them. Great nuggets, as always, from Ralph. Thank you, Ralph, and we'll see you next week.
And Cal, I'm tweeting out at Cal Sports LV for your Survivor people. What happens after you lose as a double-digit favorite straight up? Do you lose again if you're a favorite?
I would love to hear what it is just straight up, since that is all that matters. Thank you again to Ralph, one of the best in the business.
Have you checked out Wagertalk today? It's Sports Center for gamblers. Watch Teddy Covers and the Prez along with expert guests, a bookmaker, and Ralph Michaels as they break down the games for that day. The show airs Monday through Friday from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show will give you betting insights for all the key games that day and advanced looks at key weekend games in every major sport. Wagertalk today will tell you how to bet the games, where the money is going, and who the wise guys are playing. Teddy and the Prez are a must-watch as their chemistry or lack of is entertaining as hell. So if you want to laugh, have fun, and make money, check out Wagertalk today, weekdays from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Welcome back to Bet On It. We're in the home stretch. That means you hear those dogs barking. That's right. It's a barking dog segment, and boy, have the dogs been barking in the NFL over the last couple of weeks. Marco D'Angelo, you are up first. Who is your barking dog for this week?
Well, Kelly, they say dogs are a man's best friend. Well, I know this segment's been, my co-best friend, 10-3 here with the barking dog as well, like the teaser. And I'm on the same play that VR gave with the Steam game, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. And you're going to get every teaser in the world with Tampa Bay teased down to just win. The Vikings were lucky to win last week against Jacksonville. They were lucky the week before. They pulled a game out, again, with the fumbles that left the team in it. This is a team that nobody wants, nobody believes in. But they're in their best role, Kelly. They're not a favorite this week. They're an underdog. That's when Coach Zimmer does his best work. And this team's built to be an underdog. They play not to lose games. They've got a great running game with Dalvin Cook whenever he holds onto the football, just a little minor part of the game there you got to do. And then Kirk Cousins do what Kirk Cousins needs to do. You don't have to carry the football team. Don't try to do too much. And Kelly, if you look at this Tampa Bay team, yes, they've had 2 weeks to prepare, and that's going to get everybody else lining up on those teasers with them, figuring they're going to bounce back. But this team has just not been the same since that beatdown they got by the Saints. And, you start to see a little bit of body language with Tom Brady on the sidelines. I don't know that everything's all, sunshine and rainbows down in Tampa there, because this is a guy that's not used to losing. And when you can get pressure on him, not that the Vikings defense is one that can do that, he gets rattled. I think this is a game that goes right down to the wire, and I'll take the 6.5. And Kelly, you've heard me say this all the time. When you've got a game like this, where it's around that key number, you're at a 3 or you're at a 7, why not bring it out right at the number and let the market tell you where it should be? No, the bookmakers make a stand. They put this on the short side of the 7. That's all I'm going to say. Take the Minnesota Vikings as the barking dog.
Yeah, this is really interesting because now I am on the Minnesota Vikings as well as the Los Angeles Chargers. Thank you to both you and VR for that one. We're going to see how this one plays out, but I agree with everything you guys said. VR, barking dogs have been aplenty for you as well. Who is your barking dog for this week?
Yeah, and I'll give an extra when we do free picks because I haven't bet this yet, so I don't know if there'll be a premium. The only other, I have 2 dogs I really like, but I got to choose between for my 5%, and I can't give that out until I at least decide and give it to my people. So I'll give extra when we do our free pick. I like the Eagles, man, and here's why. I've been high on the Saints, and last week I used them, I think, in the Steam spot. And the reason was that we have a situation where you have a great team, one of the best, if not the best team in all the NFL. And because they don't have their starting quarterback with a great history, they're undervalued. And that's been proven by the fact not only have they won, 9 games in a row, but they've covered their last 5. And it's not as if they were underdogs. They were favored in 4 of those last 5, and they're covering spreads. But the market catches up and eventually corrects itself. And I think that's what we're looking at here, where, again, they were much smaller favorites. They were less than a field goal at Atlanta. They were 3.5 at home against Atlanta. They were dogs at Tampa Bay. I mean, only against San Francisco at home or against Carolina at home were they this big of favorites. And I get it. Phillies looked really bad. They should have covered last week, and I think that's why we're getting a little extra points here, because they really should have covered that game. I didn't have it or anything, but Green Bay got the cover towards the end. And as bad as Phillies looked over these last 4 weeks, again, I think this line's a little bit too high. If you were to bet this game just, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks ago when they put those game of the year lines out, I always grab that sheet because they update it throughout the season. And this line was 3. Eagles, Saints -3. What's changed in the last 2+ weeks? I get it. We have a new quarterback in Philadelphia this week. I think that's a positive. What have we seen from Carson Wentz this season that makes me want him behind center and has me feeling more confident? Nothing. So again, I like the move with Philadelphia. I think the team hopefully shows up for the young kid, and they get the cover against the Saints. I like them in this spot. Let's not forget, New Orleans got Kansas City on deck. Much bigger game than Philadelphia. I think it's a soft spot. I like the 7 with the Eagles.
All right. All of the ugly barking dogs this week. I cannot wait to see some of these win outright. After the barking dog segment, what comes next? That's right, your favorite segment of the show. We have been rocking and rolling with these best bets over the last 10 weeks, just absolutely crushing it after I had started off really poorly. So I'm going to try to keep it rolling. I'm going to go first. It is time for best bets. Well, this one's against my better judgment. I thought about calling an audible in show after listening to everybody talk about the Sunday primetime game, listening to what Ralph had to say about this team, but too late. I'm already pot committed. The Pittsburgh Steelers +2.5 in a teaser. And yes, I sprinkled a little bit on the money line. I know I was just against this team on Monday night. I understand that the Washington football team won in an incredible fashion. The Steelers, I think it was something popped up that said the Steelers were 78-1 when leading by 14 or more at home, and they broke that streak. This is a Pittsburgh team that Marco mentioned last week on the show. He said, look, they're in a sandwich spot of sorts. Do they really care about the Washington football team? Well, they probably do now. Look, their perfect season got bubble burst, but I think that takes a lot of pressure off of this team. Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in the NFL. And surprisingly, I texted Marco this morning. I wanted to get this correct. 35-21 against the spread as a dog and 26-16 against the spread as a road underdog. I think Pittsburgh comes to play. They're now tied with the Kansas City Chiefs, sitting in first place for the AFC. They're going to get the W. I like the Steelers, and hopefully I don't get any crazy bad mushes from Marco and VR with them telling me how crazy I was getting involved in this game. All right, Marco, you're up next. Sorry if I just mushed your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, Kelly, I need to apologize to you, too, because apparently I'm making you do something you don't want to do this week. And go ahead. Here's a live look at Kelly right now with those two plays that we talked her into, taking the Vikings and the Chargers. Kelly, you can send me all the nasty text you want on Sunday, but, I'm sorry, but that's what came to mind. For me, I'm going to go to the San Francisco 49ers for my play, my best bet for this week. And Kelly, we talked about it. Everybody now is going to jump on the Washington bandwagon. Alex Smith is in there. They're playing better. And yeah, and I said that last week. They were playing better. But I also said it was a situation because they were catching Pittsburgh with the, playing 3 games in 12 days, all of that, all of the injuries that the Steelers had. Plus, the Steelers were coming off that mammoth game against Baltimore, their hated rival, physical, have to play short week. Now, Washington has to go on the road for a second week in a row. They got to travel to not San Francisco, but Glendale. And let's talk about that. The 49ers played their first home game at Arizona Stadium last week. That was a little different for them. They didn't play well. They made a couple mistakes in that game, and they were playing a very good Buffalo Bill team. And we know that Buffalo Bill team can score. Now they're going to face a Washington team. This will be the second week in a row. So if there were any little, quirks or their schedule being disrupted, at least now they've got a game under their belt there, and they'll be ready to play this week, second week there as their new adopted home for the rest of the season due to the COVID issues in California. I like them. I'm not sold on Washington in this spot. This is a horrible spot for them. And look at the schedule for Washington. This is their third road game. You just don't see that often anymore in the NFL. But this is a spot for them where they're going to San Francisco. It's technically not, a full road game because it's a home neutral. But for Washington, they're getting on a plane for the third week in a row, and that's key. I like the 49ers here. I think they're going to be able to move the football on the ground, slow down that pass rush. Last week, Pittsburgh, as I said, because of the offensive line issues and no James Conner and no Marquise Pouncey, Steelers weren't able to run the football, and that just let them pin their ears and come after Ben. San Francisco has more balance on offense. They'll get the job done. And look at the 49ers. Yes, they've lost 4 of the last 5 games, Kelly. Look at who they've played. It's a who's who in the NFC. Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, Rams, and then Buffalo from the AFC. All of those teams are playoff teams. All of those teams are first-place teams in their division, except Seattle. But when they played Seattle, they were in first place. Now they're right behind the Rams. So you got to give them some slack for that schedule. I've got San Francisco. We're getting line value. The public has jumped on Washington. We saw the opening number that was higher on this game, 4.5. Then we saw it come down to 3, and then some buyback to 3.5. I'll take San Francisco, my best bet.
All right, Marco, I'm with you. That was a team I considered as well. I will be with you on the 49ers this weekend. All right, VR, been absolutely crushing these best bets. Who is your best bet for NFL Week 14?
If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. And I'm going to stick with them, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I'm going to tell you what I went ahead and did. I bet them on the money line. And the reason's pretty simple. Now they're up to -3 in some places. When we bet them, it was 2.5, -120, -125, stuff like that. And it just made so much more sense. Put the extra 20, 25 cents, and let's not talk point spreads. Let's go out there and win the game. And that's exactly what I did. So I laid -145 and 150 on the Indianapolis Colts. You could lay the spread. It's on you how you feel more comfortable. And the reason's pretty simple. Usually I would look to think the Raiders were a little undervalued in this spot because they're playing the Jets last week, ton of money on the Raiders, and they don't cover that game. But they came back and win the game, covered the teaser. Don't leave an ugly taste in bettors' mouths like it would have otherwise. Or else I would have definitely looked to stay away because they would have had lost 3 in a row and coming off a loss to the Jets. The market's going to undervalue you. It don't mean you're going to cover, but you're probably going to be getting more points than you should. That's not the case, though. And look at the Colts, man. Bottom line, over the last couple weeks, every time, except that home game against Tennessee, where they were coming off beating Tennessee at Tennessee, beating Green Bay in overtime at home. That was their only bad game. When they've had to show up, the pressure's on, they've gotten it done. No better proof than last week on the road at Houston, laying points, not only win, get the cover. This team's just too good defensively. And more importantly, they're just so well balanced. If you look at offensively, points per game, Indianapolis is top 10. Right under them, Las Vegas. You look at the Raiders, they score 26.9, 27 points a game. Colts, 27.2, 27.5. Comparable, decent offenses. But it's on the defensive side of the ball that there are huge differences. And the Raiders, until they're able to shore up that defense, you're going to have to back this team where they're getting significant points. And this just isn't that spot. I like the Indianapolis Colts here. And like I said, my best bet as of today, again, the NFL, I'm deciding which one's going to be the 5%. But I'll give you another play tomorrow night. Bellator MMA, Bellator 254. I went ahead and I gave out Davian Franklin last night to subscribers at minus 210, 220. I bet him at 210. I bet him at 220. I think I bet him last at 230, 235. How this guy isn't a minus 350, 400 favorite, how it didn't open that high, to me was a shock. Again, it's chalky, but Davian Robbie Franklin is the real deal. Got to cut down to 265. He's only 2-0 as a professional, but he is one of the top prospects at Jackson Wink. I mean, the kid's got a future. This is a very winnable fight for him stylistically. The only negative is it's heavyweights. There's some randomness involved. That's the only reason I haven't, just unloaded. But it's my biggest bet as of today is on Davian Franklin. So I got Davian Franklin tomorrow and Indianapolis on Sunday. There you go.
All right, VR coming in with the gold. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, that's right, it's those college football best bets. Marco D'Angelo is coming off a 4-0 NFL Sunday. The highlight was Marco's 5% NFL high roller play on the Rams. For this season, Marco's 5% NFL plays are hitting around 70%, and his NFL is on a 11-3 run. You will get all of Marco's plays on Sunday, highlighted by his 5% NFL game of the month. Get the special package for just $39. Just go to Marco's homepage at Wagertalk.com. Side note, Marco will be adding plays to this package right through Sunday. So I owe you guys an apology. Last week's show's only loser was my college football best bet. The weekend before it got canceled. We're going to try to find you guys a winner, and I think I found a live dog here. Now, hear me out. I know Coastal Carolina is everyone's darling. I bet this game, I think it was 3 weeks ago. It might have been a month ago when it was supposed to be played. And I took Troy plus 13.5. Coastal Carolina just beat a Power 5 school at home as a double-digit underdog in BYU. And this line comes out at Troy plus 13.5. I think that tells you all that you need to know. This line is dead on. The Troy Trojans have been great home dogs, 6-0 against the spread as home dogs of more than 10 points since they became a Division I program in 2001. Don't take the disrespect here, Coastal Carolina, but I think their level of being super high up here. Now they just have to beat a Troy team they don't really care that much about. 13.5, too many points for this one. I like the Trojans. Marco, who is your best bet for this week in college football?
Kelly, you make me feel like a proud dad listening to you break down that Coastal Carolina and the situation that it is coming off that. The only thing you didn't throw in there is ESPN Game Day was at Coastal Carolina last week too. That is another big factor of how it is, and I will be with you on that one. I love your Troy side. Good call there. And for me, I'm going to the MAC. We're going to have a little MAC action here. And usually that's reserved for our buddy Brian Leonard that loves the MAC. But this is one, Kelly, I gave to my clients already, and I gave it to them on Sunday night. The line was 3.5 on the game. I grabbed Western Michigan. The line's now down to 2.5. I still like it at 2.5, and here's why. The wrong team's favorite, in my opinion, of this game. People are overreacting to last week's game. I had Ball State as a big play for my clients. Why did I have Ball State? Well, they needed to win that game last week to get to this one because the winner of this game goes to the MAC Conference Championship. They're both tied at 4-1. But Western Michigan lost last week as a double-digit favorite. So now all of a sudden, people are looking at Ball State. They went on the road and got the job done, and now they're at home. They're the favorite, a team that just got beat at home as a double-digit favorite. Well, here's what happened. Ball State beat a team, that Central Michigan, that was without their quarterback. And this is a team that passes the football. They couldn't move the football at all. They had 4 turnovers in that game. That's what made the score lopsided. But that's what you can expect when you had a backup quarterback in there. Now you're going to be facing a Western Michigan team that it didn't matter if they won or lost last week. It was still going to come down to this game because they both would have had identical record. Well, I'm sorry, even if they were undefeated, Ball State would have only had 1 loss. If Ball State wins this game, they would have owned the tiebreaker. So last week's game didn't mean anything to Western Michigan. This is the one it does. They're the better football team on both sides of the ball, and they're getting points. I'll go ahead and take this one. And by the way, Western Michigan was -3 on turnovers in that game last week when they lost as a double-digit favorite. Western Michigan's offense is explosive. They run for 194 yards per game and throw for 286. You know, I always talk about those 200 club teams. Well, they just miss out on that with the 194. Yes, Ball State is one of those teams too that runs and passes well, but they rely on the pass so much, and with the quarterback being banged up, that's not a factor. I like Western Michigan. I'm on them. This is definitely a money line sprinkle as well. Take Western Michigan as the best bet.
All right, Marco, good luck this week. VR, who have you found this week? We need a nugget from you in regards to some college football.
Yeah, and this is a premium play, released to subscribers also, so I back this opinion with money this week, and that's the UCLA Bruins plus the 3 over USC. And usually I would probably look to stay away from a team, like I say all the time, that's won 3 out of their 4 straight up, but more importantly, covered 4 in a row. And even more importantly, 3 of those were as underdogs, one of them significant underdogs. So they've outperformed the betting market. Those are kind of teams you want to pick your spot at. You can't get too excited about. But fortunately, they're playing an overvalued USC team, which moved up 5 slots in the rankings for beating Washington State at home. You're a double-digit favorite. You're supposed to beat Washington State. So now, because you're 4-0, it's all in the record. You're a top 15 team, and you're a favorite against UCLA. Listen, UCLA, the Chip Kelly era is now beginning. Forget those first 2 seasons. He inherited absolutely nothing. And even this season, you still haven't seen Kelly really take over and those be his kids, his recruited, for his system. I mean, the guy has to more or less implement a playbook the last 2 years that wasn't his own, because again, you don't have the athletes and the players to go out there and play your style. You see that is starting to change on the offensive side of the ball. Were already pretty good on the defensive side of the ball, especially in that front line. Now the secondary's gotten a lot better, as you can see, and they're not giving up all those points. Oregon might have put up 38 on them, but 3 of the last 4 opponents put up less than 20, and that's a nice step up for that defense. Again, offense has stepped up. I like them against USC. I think USC is overvalued, overrated, and at +3, I think UCLA wins the game outright. I'm on the Bruins.
All right, guys, make sure you hit up the Bruins quickly because I'm starting to see some 2.5s pop up. Good luck to you, VR. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to recap it for all of you guys and just scroll to the end.
Want up-to-the-minute scores and odds direct from Las Vegas? Then check out our Wagertalk odds page. You'll get all the latest lines along with moves as they happen from all the biggest books in Las Vegas, including Westgate Superbook, Circa, Golden Nugget, Wynn, Stations, CG, and South Point, just to name a few. Best of all, it's absolutely free.
All right, let's recap NFL Week 14, starting off with the primetime game on Thursday night. Marco says the Rams -5 is where he's looking, and VR actually backed this game with his money on the under 45.5. On Sunday, Marco said, hey, I'm not buying the hype with my Steelers. They can't get anything going offensively. He likes the Bills -2.5, and VR took a complete pass on this one. As I mentioned before, one of our most profitable segments, that's right, the teaser segment. Marco is taking the Titans -1.5 and the Bears up to 8.5. VR says the Chicago Bears as well, up to 7.5, and the Chargers up to 8.5. It depends on when those guys got those numbers. Remember, Chicago is headed to 1, if not already there, by the time you guys watch this. So keep an eye there and make sure you're getting up over those touchdowns or under those field goals. The steam game of the week is the Vikings +6.5. We've got a trappy sandwich with the Los Angeles Superchargers +2.5. Marco is with VR on the steam game. He says his barking dog is the Vikings +6.5. VR is going against everybody's darling right now, the New Orleans Saints, and saying the Eagles with a new quarterback +7 are live. As far as best bets go, I didn't listen to the guys. I'm taking the Steelers +2.5 and in a teaser. Marco, I'm loving this one. The Niners -3, a little bit of overreaction, maybe how good football team is and who they played versus who the Niners have played. And VR says, don't even worry about the points. Colts money line is where it's at. I'm playing against one of the best teams in college football in the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and taking the Troy Trojans +13.5. Marco is taking the Western Michigan Broncos +2.5, and VR says UCLA +3, not getting the respect they deserve. And maybe the USC Trojans are just a little overhyped. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us every single Wednesday evening. Good luck to you. Let's cash out this weekend. Have another profitable week. Until next Monday, we'll see you guys then for the Monday night game. Let's bet on it.